Blog Talk Radio.
The following broadcast is brought to you by the iGolf Sports Network. The Women of Golf show is sponsored by the iGolf Sports Network and Golf Tips magazine. Here's more about our sponsors. iGolf Sports is a live stream broadcast and media production company providing quality programming designed to attract the golfing enthusiast. And Golf Tips, the game's most in-depth instruction magazine, including reviews on the latest equipment, tips from top teaching professionals, all designed to help you improve from tee to green. Good morning. Welcome to the Women of Golf, the #1 women's golf show around the world, with hosts Ted Odorico and Cindy Miller. Join them as they interview some of the best players from the Symetra, LPGA, and Legends Tour, and so many others, helping to elevate women's golf. So without further ado, here are your hosts, Ted and Cindy.
All right, good morning, everybody, and once again, welcome to the Women of Golf show. I am Ted Odorico, and right alongside, of course, each and every week is none other than my good friend, LPGA professional and Legends Tour player, Cindy Miller. Good morning, Cindy.
Good morning. How are you?
I am doing very, very well. I'm always excited to spend time with you on a Tuesday morning. I hope you feel the same. It's always a lot of fun, and we have a great time together on the show, and we get to talk to some great, interesting people in this wonderful game that we both enjoy called golf. So let me introduce our first guest. We're going to be joined actually by her in just a second, but we've got, as I said, we've got a great show. First up is going to be Fatima Fernandez Cano. She was with us back in September, and then a little bit later on, we're going to be joined by Julieta Stack. She's an LPGA teacher professional and Baltimore Golf Academy's Director of Instruction. She'll be joining us on the second half, so I hope you'll stick around. But let me tell you a little bit about Fatima. She's been on, as I mentioned before. She's a native of Spain and currently is up in Birmingham, Alabama. She was a 4-time All-Sun Belt first-team selection for Troy University. She also was the Women's Golfer of the Year with Troy and set their single-season scoring average record of 72.79 back in 2016. And in 2020, she won the IOA Championship on the Symetra Tour. And Cindy, she is a Symetra Tour graduate and will be heading off to the LPGA in 2022 as one of their members. So please welcome Cindy Fatima Fernandez Cano.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you guys for having me again.
Well, you've earned the right to be here.
That's right. You've done a great job and had a great season, and you finished. I didn't mention that because I'm going to mention it now, but you finished in second spot for the race for the card into the top 10. So that's a great accomplishment. So let me ask you something. If you don't mind, Cindy, I'm going to start off here real quick. Despite not getting a win this season, you did last year, as I said, at the 2020 IOA Championship, you still managed to finish in the second spot for the race for the card. So you must be pretty happy, first off, with that finishing in a strong season. And now, officially, you're a Symetra Tour graduate and an LPGA Tour member. So tell us how you feel, and what was it you did this season to really grind it out and make sure you got into one of those spots?
Yes, no, I'm super happy. Like I said, my main goal this season has always been just get one of those 10 spots at the end of the year, get that full card. It's kind of like the best possible card that you can get going into the LPGA. So even though I did it last year, of course, I was a little disappointed that I wouldn't get into many events last year, so I just had to kind of pick myself up in a way and say, all right, well, let's do it again. And I'm just very, very happy to have done it again. When I was with you guys last time, I said, well, I have a few events left in the season, see if I can get a win. Unfortunately, I couldn't. I think after I talked to you guys, I got 2 second places, which of course it's not bad. So I was just very close. But I mean, it's been a great season, and I'm just very happy to have done that, to have gotten that second place, get a full card to the LPGA, and moving on to the LPGA. But I couldn't tell you what I've done differently. I mean, ever since last year, I've started to focus a little bit more in like doing some gym work, get a little bit more distance off the tee, and then of course always working on that, that putting that has been working on and off. I mean, my strength in my golf game has always been my iron game. I hit a lot of pitch regulation, so when that putting kind of wakes up and I start making putts is when I play really well and I get those good finishes out there. So I guess that's it. Everything kind of came together this year.
Well, and I always look at it this way: if you're not going to win for whatever reason, whether a part of your game lets you down or you're just not mentally prepared that particular week, as long as you're knocking on that door, as long as you're right there in the hunt, I think that I consider that a win. I mean, obviously we all want to win whatever event we get into, but if you're not going to end up ultimately being hoisting up that trophy, you want to make sure you're knocking hard on that door, and I think you've done that very well. And as you just expressed, you did that in the last few events. You were number 2, so that's a great accomplishment, and you ultimately did accomplish your goal for the season, and that was to get your full card on the LPGA Tour. So congratulations on that, and I'm going to zip my lip, and Cindy, I'm going to pass it over to you.
What are you most proud of that you've done this year?
I think it is that I stayed patient. So like I've mentioned, beginning of the year, I wasn't sure if I was going to be full LPGA or Symetra, just because the status that I had on the LPGA was just not that great. And I tried to get into a few events at the very beginning of the year, and I didn't. Like, I actually played 2 Monday qualifiers because I was not in the field, and I was very close to making one of them. So it's kind of disappointing at the very beginning, of course. And once that happened, I started playing in the Symetra, and I was still playing well, and I was in the top 10 from the very beginning. So I kind of told myself, well, I may have to do this route again. I mean, this might have to be it, unfortunately. I mean, I was really excited to be in the LPGA, but maybe I have to do this again. And I actually talked, I think it was after my 6th event, I talked to Kim Kaufman. She's been on the LPGA for a few years, and she's been on and off between Symetra and LPGA. And I actually asked her for advice. I said, Kim, what would you do if you were me? And she was like, listen, like, you're doing really well in the Symetra. Do your time here again. And just like the next thing will come, just be patient. And I honestly, I'm very, very grateful to her for that advice, because that was the route that I was thinking about taking at that time, just because I didn't get into many events in the LPGA. And like her saying that really helped me kind of make that decision. And I just stick with the Symetra Tour. I was patient, and I was just hoping that route would pay off for me. And it did. So I guess for me, it was just mentally staying patient with it and knowing that, just believing in the route that I took, honestly. It got hard at times, and it was a time mid-year where I was not playing that well. I was getting a little bit ahead of myself at times. And I went back to just being patient and taking it one at a time, and I did. So I think I'm most proud of that.
How do you think that will help you next year and the years to come on the LPGA Tour?
I think it just gave me the reassurance that I'm good enough to be out there. And that, I mean, I did it twice through Symetra. That means that I think I have a pretty good level of golf to be out there. And just, I mean, I think the LPGA season is a very long season. So as long as I stay patient, I believe in myself, and I continue to work hard, I think I can really be, doing some damage out there in the LPGA.
I couldn't agree more. I think, like I said, not to repeat myself, but I think, Fatima, if you just keep knocking on that door, eventually you're going to walk through it. And I think that sometimes it takes some of us a little bit longer to get where we need to be. And I think that was some very, very good advice that she gave you, and sticking with the Symetra and learning to hone your skills that much more, because you're going to be going out, as they say, on the bigger stage, and you're going to be playing against some of the best women golfers in the game today, and you've got to bring your best. So if it means that you stayed an extra season, really grinding it out on the Symetra to get that, I think that's going to serve you very, very well. And I think that was some sound advice, and it has paid off for you. So as you move forward, and you're now getting ready, and I think you said to us off air that you had one more event this year. What are you going to do in the off season? Are you going to play a little bit more to try and get ready, or are you going to rest a little bit and just have some fun, get out there and do whatever besides golf? What are you going to do in the off season?
So for now, I guess it's only been a week since I finished my season, but it's been a lot of resting. Kind of like let my body rest, make sure that I take my time, of course. So for the next these 2 weeks, I guess, it's been like the same thing. I enjoy doing a lot of stuff outside, like going hiking, going paddleboarding and all that stuff. So I kind of I do that, and I'm lucky enough. I live in a place where I can do all that stuff. So it's been kind of relaxing and focusing on my other hobbies, I guess. But like I said, yes, end of November, I will be playing a European Tour event in Spain. I got an invitation to play on that, so I'm super excited for that, to just come home and play at home with my people. I'll have my family down there, hopefully, with me. So that'll be super exciting for me. So, yes, after these next couple of weeks, I'll start getting back to work. And it's just off-season work. It's gym work already, and then get back on the golf course and get ready to play on that event. I'm very excited, so I can't wait.
So you're really not going to take too much of an off season. You're going to rest a little bit, but you're actually going to get right back to it. And that's the sign of a champion right there. Is you're going to you rest a little bit, but not too much, because you got to get back out there, and because you're going to be grinding it out with the best. So that's, I think, a good strategy. So obviously, this is going to be a little bit different than what you're used to. Obviously, the LPGA, as I mentioned, is sort of where all of the women players want to get to that want to play at the highest level. But it's a bigger season, as you said. There's a lot more events to potentially be in and play. Are you going to pace yourself out and try to not play too much in a small period of time? Or how are you going to do that? Because that can be very overwhelming. A lot of people, especially when they first come out on tour, tend to, I got to play every single event, I got to do all of this, and then they get burnt out by halfway the season. Have you got a game plan for 2022 moving forward? What's your strategy going to be?
Yes, I do. Kind of. I'm still waiting. We're still waiting on the official schedule to come out, of course. But, that we'll have basically a full card, so I'll be able to kind of pick and choose from the very beginning where I want to be and the tournaments I want to play into. So what I'll do is probably I usually don't like playing more than 3 or maybe 4 will be my top on a row. So I'll look at the schedule when it comes out and try to pace myself in a way that I won't be playing too much. I won't get too tired, of course, just mentally and physically. But yes, for me, ideally, I only like to play 3 to 4 on a row, tops, and then take 1 or 2 weeks off. So I'll just have to look at the schedule when it comes out officially. I believe we'll be starting in January, like we always do, end of January. So that'll be a little bit of a short off season for me. That's kind of why I'll also, get back to work here after a couple of weeks and then play at the European Tour event. Then I take another couple of weeks off and then get back to work fully to prepare for the season. So I just have to look at the schedule when it comes out officially. But yeah, I'm lucky enough that I get to pick and choose where I play into, which will be a first for me. So I'm very pumped for that.
I think that's fantastic. That's very wise of you to take that approach. So I'm gonna ask a question that I think will be interesting, because you just mentioned a few moments ago that you reached out to somebody on the LPGA to get their advice, because obviously they were, had played on the Symetra and you wanted to get that. As the season goes on, or maybe a couple of seasons passed while you're out in the LPGA, what advice are you going to give if somebody from the Symetra reaches out to you with that same question? What advice are you going to give them?
I think I'll always be there for advice, because I was in the Symetra and I know how hard it is. And hopefully I'll stay in the LPGA for a long time, but I'll always be there for advice. If they were to be in my situation where they didn't have very good status on the LPGA and they had a full card on the Symetra and they had started the season like I did in the top 10 from the very beginning, I'd say stick with it. It's going to be a long road. It's going to be a long year, because you're always going to be wondering in the back of your mind, the what if. What if I had play another Monday qualifier? What if I had tried a little harder to make it into the LPGA event and all that stuff? But at the end of the day, it was out of my control. Like I really didn't get into any LPGA events until I was 6 events into the Symetra Tour season, and I was doing very well there. So if they were in my shoes, I would say, I know it's going to stink because we all want to be on the LPGA, but if you do it for just a little bit longer and you truly stick with it and believe in it, it can work. It can pay off at the end. So I say stick with it. Now, if it was a different situation in which this person wouldn't be doing so well on the Symetra Tour, and if they were not top 5, top 10 on the Symetra Tour, then I'd say, it doesn't hurt to try and play whatever event you get to play on the LPGA. But if you're doing well, if you're in the top 10, just stick with it. Honestly, it's the best card you can get into the LPGA, so just stick with it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think that's some great advice, and obviously it worked and served you well, and I think it would serve somebody else coming up through the ranks as well to hear that from you. Let me just ask one more question, then Cindy, I'll send it back over to you. What's the hardest thing to deal with on tour, regardless of whether it's Symetra or LPGA? Is it the travel? Is it sticking to a schedule? Do you find it challenging to get into a routine? What is the most challenging part for you doing what you do for a living?
I think it's the never being home part, always being gone, always traveling. The traveling part is crazy. I mean, of course, it can be a little lonely out there, especially in the Symetra. I basically travel by myself, but I was so lucky to have a few friends out there that I made on tour, really great friends that we kind of help each other out. We kind of share Airbnbs and all that stuff, and to me, that's made this year and the last couple of years, I guess, so much better to just have some other players to share it with, because I think it can get very lonely out there. It can get very tough, especially if you're not playing well at times. It can get even worse. But like I said, I'm just very lucky to have had, really good friends to share it with. I don't know that it would have been that easy for me if not.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting because, we've had other guests on who are in a similar situation to you where they're not, even though they do have some residence of some sort here in the United States, they're from, another country. Most of their family's back there. So it can be very difficult. So I think you hit it right on the head. I think it's very important to establish a friendship and camaraderie with your fellow players out there, even though you're battling it out each week. In tournament, I think developing those friendships is extremely important because I'm sure it gets very lonely for you gals out there at times, week in, week out, and especially if the putts aren't rolling in your favor, it can be extra challenging as well. Cindy, go ahead.
What are you going to work on once you stop resting and get back to work? What do you need to work on for next year?
My main focus, keep doing what I'm doing, of course, continue to work. I always try and make small swing changes in the off season, just things that I've been trying to work on super long term, of course. So I'll work on that, swing changes. But something I really want to focus on going into next year is my distance control, especially with my wedges. So I'm gonna just create a plan of action for that. And I wanna be spot on with my wedges next year. So inside 120 yards, I'd say. I wanna become really good in that area. I think that's something that I've been lacking a little bit on that. So that'll be it. Continue to focus on my gym work. Trying to continue to hit it far and create an advantage out of that. But also trying to get my distance control down for the off season for sure.
Awesome. And how many days a week do you work out?
I work out now in the off season between 4 and 6. It just depends on the week and when I'm doing all that stuff. But yeah.
I'm feeling a little pain. I'm feeling the pain right now. Go ahead, Cindy.
Get up. Stand up. Get off your butt. How many days a week do you work out during the season?
During the season, I've been doing 3 to 4, but that always depends on the schedule, how the traveling day is. If the traveling day is a little longer, then I'll stick with 3. So I'll do like Tuesday, Wednesday, and then one of the other days that my tea time is in the morning. So I tried this year. I tried to get a little bit more on a schedule with it because up until this year I was a little off. And I tried to be a little more on a schedule with it and do at least 3. It's something that helps me. It's something that kind of like gets me to to move a little bit when I'm on the road, and sometimes I'm a little tired. I found that I get a little more tired when I don't do enough, if that makes sense. I know that sounds weird,
wow.
but that's kind of what works for me.
Awesome. Ted?
Yeah, that's like I said, I'm feeling the pain already. I'm feeling embarrassed. I need to step up my game a little bit. Fatima, let me ask you a question. We asked you this particular question last time you were on, and I want to change it a little bit. We asked you, what would you do if there was a young girl that wanted to sort of follow in your footsteps and, play competitive golf out on tour? What advice would you give them? I want to change that a little bit, and I want to eliminate the tour part. So if you had a young lady or a group of young ladies in front of you that maybe had never played or really didn't express in the past an interest in golf, what would you say to them to encourage them to get out there and obviously give it a try? But what would you suggest that they do to introduce them to the game and get them started?
To introduce them to the game, I mean, my thing is always just like just pick up a golf club and swing it. Like, I mean, I know it sounds simple, but it's just that easy in a way. And once you once you go and do that, you probably meet people with the same interest that you have, and that are trying as well to just pick up the game and go out there and do it. I mean, it can be so much fun, and you get to know so many people through it. Even if it's not, like you said, even if it's not to go out on tour one day, even if it's just, for fun. You get to know so many people. And like I've said before, this is, I owe this sport of golf so many of my friends that I can't even begin to tell you how glad I am that I actually, picked up the game when I was young. But it's also a game that you can pick up at any age. So honestly, I'll just say that it's fun and that you're going to get to know so many friends that why not,
Yeah, I think it's great advice. I think it's like anything. I think you have to at least give it a try. I remember my sister several years back, had never played golf. Of course, I've played since I was very young and loved the game. And my father, introduced me to the game. And for some reason, she never took it up early on. And I finally just got upset at her, and I said, listen, just go out and try it, and you might like it. And she played for many, many years and actually enjoyed it. She was never a great golfer, but she loved it and actually played, in the events that her company that she worked for participated in and did things. So she actually went out and joined a women's league and started playing. And I was actually, when I got up the floor from fainting in shock that she had actually done that, I was pretty proud of her. I thought, wow, this is pretty incredible.
That's awesome.
What do you think, Fatima? Just one final question I have for you. When you look back on your career at some point down the road, hopefully many, many years down the road, what do you think you want to remember the most? Is it the competitiveness of the events? Is it the people that you've met and friendships that you've made? How are you going to look back on your career? What are you going to say to yourself?
For me, it's the people. For me, it's always the people. Golf is super important. Competition is super important, and I love it. I mean, I love being out there. I love competing among the best in the world, and I love all of that. I mean, I absolutely no doubt there is no way I would be doing it if not. But for me, it's always just the people that I meet, the relationship that I create through the game. It's always been that, and I think it'll always be. I mean, I look back in my last few years in the Symetra tour. It's a really hard tour to get to the LPGA. It's just like a long road. But I'm just so glad that I did it. I am so glad I've met the people that I've met, and I've shared the experience that I've shared with other people. So to me, I think, I mean, the whole, competing is great, and that's the reason why I do it. But besides that, I mean, in my opinion, for me, as a person, as a human, I mean, I'm more than a golfer. I'm more than a professional athlete. I'm a person, and the thing that makes me a person and a happy person, I guess, is just the people that I made along the way. So it's always been the human connections that I make, I think, and I hope it stays the same.
Yeah, I think that's so true. And Cindy, I think you would agree with that as well. I mean, obviously Cindy, Fatima has played competitive golf and does still. and obviously teaches golf. But Cindy, would you agree? I mean, you've made a lot of great friends along the way in your career, being involved in this game, and that's probably something that you're going to remember very fondly as time passes on. Would you agree, Cindy?
Holy cow, yeah. I mean, I met my husband playing golf. My best friends are golfers. I played college golf, junior golf. I mean, you know that. You've already probably experienced that. And you know what's funny? On the Legends Tour, and my husband played on the PGA Tour for 15 years, and when he went to the Champions Tour, kind of like it wasn't, oh, how are you playing? It's, how are you? You know, we've known each other. There's a mutual bond and respect for those who have gone through the rigors of trying to be one of the best in the world. And it's a very small community, and you need to cherish every second of it, because every one of us has gone through, the pits, putting in time to get where we've gotten. And you should pat yourself on the back and be very grateful, which you are. And I can't wait to see you in Spain.
Yeah, I think that's some great words of wisdom. Well, Fatima, we want to thank you very much for joining us again this morning, and congratulations on having a great season on the Symetra, and we wish you nothing but the best as you head out on the LPGA Tour next season. And I hope you'll come back and share some of your experiences. You're always welcome. The door is open. I'll get you the information on how you can reach out to us if you'd like. But we would love to have you come back on again and let us know how you do next year. Let us know some of your experiences and share that with us. We'd love to have you come back.
Awesome. Absolutely, I will. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Good luck, and good luck in Spain.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, that was our very special guest, Fatima Fernandez Cano. I think she's going to have a great career. She's got a very, I've said this, I know 1,000 times, Cindy, but it really resonates, I think, as we continue to speak with these young ladies. They are so together, aren't they? I mean, they know what they want. They're very confident. They just, they're going to do their best to get out there, and, it's okay if they don't win. They're going to pull up their bootstraps or their shoelaces on their golf shoes, and they're going to go out and battle it out again next week, and they're okay with that, right?
Yep.
All right, let's take a quick break, and then we will be back with our next very special guest, Julieta Stack. We'll be right back.
The following ad is sponsored by Golf Tips Magazine.
Are you tired of being short off the tee? And what about those 3 putts? Forget about it. It's time you got serious about your game. Golf Tips, the most in-depth magazine in the industry. For over 30 years, Golf Tips has delivered expert content such as the latest golf instruction from America's top pros, simple to follow practice and game improvement drills, fitness and mental game tips, equipment, training aids, accessory and apparel reviews, golf destinations and travel tips for every budget, and so much more. Don't miss a single issue. Go to golftipsmag.com and subscribe today.
All right, welcome back. Cindy, I'm excited to have our next guest on. She's never been on the show, of course, but she's been in the game for a long, long time, and I think is equally as passionate as we are, maybe even more. She is, of course, I'm talking about Julieta Stack. She's an LPGA teacher professional and also the Baltimore Golf Academy's Director of Instruction at the Pine Ridge Golf Course. She's been teaching locally at Pine Ridge since 2006, and she is a decorated and beloved teacher professional in the Maryland area and has been recognized nationally as one of the top teaching professionals in the country amongst her peers. So, Cindy, let's welcome our very special guest on our second half of the show, Julieta Stack.
Good morning.
Good morning, Cindy. Good morning, Ted. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank
you. We're glad you could join us.
Here.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Boy, Fatima was fantastic. I love listening to her. What a dynamic young woman.
Yeah,
she's
be a superstar.
Yeah, and it's like it's like I was saying, Julieta, these young ladies every season, Cindy and I have been doing this for quite a number of years now, and we have the pleasure of interviewing, the winners and whatnot every season on, from the Symetra, and they're all like her now. They're just very, very enthusiastic. They have their ups and downs like, everybody does, but they're very, very passionate about what they do. They enjoy what they do. They're building friendships and lifelong memories and things like that, and they just really epitomize the professional golfer today, and I think they're just incredible, and we love having them on, and it's just a blessing. And she's just one example of many that we've had on the show that have that same enthusiasm and same courage and excitement about it. But Cindy, I'm going to let you start. Go ahead.
What do you love most about teaching golf?
Oh, where do you begin? I mean, every day is a new experience. It's just like the game itself. What other sport can you go to and the tees change, the pin location changes. There is never a day where it's the same. There's always a mystery to what's going to happen. If you took basketball and you changed the goal every time where the players are going down in the net, the dimensions of the court changed, it'd be a much more interesting game, right? There'd be a lot more mystery. Watching a 7-foot player dunk a basketball isn't nearly as exciting as, how with golf, everything changes daily. So when you have students coming out, you have to deal with each individual's, first of all, their physical, their emotional, their psyche that day. Even for us, we teach outdoors 95% of the time. So you've got to deal with even how in Baltimore with the humidity and the weather in the summertime, how is this going to impact the program today? There's so many dimensions to it. We've got, if you can imagine, and we're city courses, right? We're municipal. We run the 5 courses for the city of Baltimore. So you've got to deal with the politics of that. So it's not just teaching the game and the fundamentals of golf. There 100 different things that could come up in one day. But ultimately, it's that relationship and that bonding you build with the players. And I heard you all talking about that earlier. But it's so true. So it's the camaraderie we have as a staff, I think, that makes our program successful. But it's certainly that each of our coaches builds this beautiful rapport with their students, and I love seeing that.
Well, there you go.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I couldn't agree. I wanted to ask you. I want to go back a little bit, Julieta, if you don't mind, and just talk a little bit about your career overall. You actually got started teaching when you were down in Sarasota, Florida, back in the late 90s or 89, rather. Tell us a little bit about how you got started. And I know we're going to talk about a little bit. You also played a little bit too, but I want to talk about what brought you to the teaching side of the game. What was it about teaching golf that you really enjoyed? And tell us a little bit about your experience when you were down in Sarasota.
Well, Cindy, were you down in Sarasota around that time?
Nope, not for any length of time, but yes, I was down there playing, but not for any length of time.
Well, it was a good place to go if you wanted to compete. I wanted to give the tour a try, and the best way to make money in between tournaments, if you missed a cut, you needed to go back and figure out a way to make money to go to the next tournament. Mini tour costs were high then, comparatively. And people either taught or they tended bar, or they were waiters or whatever, servers. And I thought, well, teaching golf will get me there. So it was a start to kind of make money to feed the habit of competing. And then I think after my third attempt at trying to get on the tour and missing out, I realized I think I'm pretty good at this teaching. I loved it, but it's complex, right? Nothing happens easily. So with golf, you're constantly having to reinvent yourself. Well, I've found it helps to do that anyway. It would have been easy to walk away from golf and say, I wrung the towel on the competition side, now I'm done. But the game, it has something about it that, you know, I grew up on a golf course, and being around just the smells of the old pro shop and the old guys that were in the shop and the people I met out there just keeps bringing you back. And figuring out a way to keep myself in this game. And I thought about, you know, I did some soul searching along the way, and thought about, well, who are the people in my life that were most influential? Who are the people that meant the most to me? Outside of, of course, your immediate family, and a lot of them were coaches or, you know, mentors and that sort of thing. And I try to pick the ones that meant the most to me, and what could I bring to the game that they taught me? And a lot of them weren't even golfers. You know, they were maybe basketball coaches or from my track and field days at Florida State, things like that. And, you know, I reinvented myself as a coach and brought a little different dynamic to it. So then I think that I don't hate to say typical PGA guy had, but being a woman in the industry at that time, and even today, well, you can write your own ticket. You can do what you want to do. Mm-hmm. So, you know, hit the ground running with juniors and new golfers, and really found my niche in that field, and I haven't changed much since. In terms of how I teach, like the people I like to teach. I love teaching juniors. I love teaching new golfers. So, but I don't know if you remember Judy Dickerson or Judy Sams and Marty Dickerson. Do you remember those names, Cindy?
I do.
Right? And then, Ted, you might remember Jennifer Wyatt. She's Canadian.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. So they were all around Sarasota when I was there, and were so instrumental in helping me achieve like what I thought was my best potential, and were so helpful. I mean, it brings tears to my eyes thinking how these people didn't know me, brought me in, and, you know, whooped my hiney daily. But we had so much fun, and they made me so much better, and got to the point where, you know, I could go out and play with them and beat them. You know, they got me, and they were so proud. They were so proud, and they would do whatever they could to help. You know, there were quite a few great coaches along the way, but, you know, you remember people like that, and you want to turn around and help others. So I heard you know, when you were talking to Fatima, it was just, you know, what would you say to the young ones coming along? And it's well, as a coach, you constantly are trying to make them better versions of themselves, as Ted Lasso would say. You know.
Yeah, it's so true. It's interesting because, again, when you've been around the game long enough, you understand there's certain things that you understand and become aware of. And when you're somebody that's new to the game, it's kind of daunting because it is a challenging game. You know, as I was mentioning earlier, I shared a little bit of the story about my sister, and for years, I mean, she would get on my case. I just don't get it. I don't understand, you know, chasing that little white ball around, and just doesn't make any sense to me. And I finally, I mean, I'm ashamed now to say it, but I actually got mad at her. I said, listen, you know, be quiet or get out on the, you know, the practice tee or out in the golf course and try it yourself. And ultimately she did, and she went on to, again, she was not going to win any trophies on the LPGA Tour, but she had fun. She actually enjoyed it. And at the time she was involved with somebody that also loved and enjoyed the game, and we had a great time together as a result of it. But again, she needed that push. So I want to bring you sort of to focus on that just for a moment more, if you wouldn't mind, Julieta. You know, growth of girls and women's golf is obviously very important to you, and I want to throw out an interesting stat. In 2020, of course, we got hit with this lovely pandemic, and we've all been you know, navigating as best we can around that. But what an interesting stat, and I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but this was put out by the National Golf Foundation, that in 2020 there were approximately 400,000 plus new women that got introduced to the game of golf during a pandemic, which is just unheard of.
I think half of them were at our course.
Right. Yeah, probably. Yeah, if they were smart. So I've been to Sarasota, so it's beautiful down, or not Maryland rather. But you know, it's what I want to ask you is, there's a lot of women, for whatever reason, that have suddenly began taking an interest in the game. What do you think? What do you attribute to that? Do you know, or do you have an idea of what might be causing this sudden uptick? Because they're tending to be the largest group of new golfers coming to the game right now. What do you attribute that to, and how do you think, as an industry, we should? Is there anything we should be doing differently than maybe what we have been doing in the past to really encourage these young women and some older women too that have gotten into it to really stick with it at whatever level they choose to play?
It's really interesting, and in different courses where I've taught over the years, you could see where a small girls program would grow because one girl brings another girl, and then she brings another girl, and then all of a sudden they have their little group of friends coming, and they make it sort of the popular thing to do. What's happened with us is we just decided to get girls from different age groups, focus on these different skill sets. So when you're really young, you don't want to be maybe mixing it up with a high schooler, right? And then with the more you could, we also brought in really young coaches. So if I had a 14-year-old that was, and coaching, I could say, but they're sort of just keeping them safe. They're bringing balls. They're keeping them separated. They're encouraging them. But they're out there being the cheerleaders for these other young girls. So what do? They kind of wear the outfits that the little girls look up to and want to be like. They want to be like them. They want to look like them. They don't look like me. They don't look like the PGA guy in the shop. So when you come out, and I've even asked this question, it's so cool. I say, hey, who do you think boss is out here? Who's the boss? And they'll point over to like the 14, 15-year-old girl, and they'll say, she's the boss. Or, the boys will do the same thing. They'll point to the 17-year-old high school kid who's like sitting there, doing whatever, and they'll be like, he's the boss. And you're like, oh, okay. It's because they want to look like, they want to be like them. And so how could I grab them and bring them in? So it's sort of, for us, it's been, we've had to do this because we just don't have enough help from, there are not enough pros to go around. If anybody wants to come help me in the next couple of years as we grow it out, please come to Baltimore and hang your shingle. But the girls bring girls. There's no other way around it. I ask them, I say, how many of you watch golf on TV? Maybe 2 out of 20. Once they get going with it, they'll start to watch more golf, and we'll encourage them to, look at the Solheim Cup, look at this tournament's going on this weekend, whatever. But they don't come to it because of TV. They come to it because either their parents ask them to, or, somebody at the swimming, at the swim team said, hey, my daughter's going to this golf program, you got to bring her. So it's just growing by word of mouth here, and I think that's what's going on all over. And once the girls get there and they realize, hey, it's fun. They have like little parties after they putt. They wear cute outfits. They do different. We do different things, and we still do workout. We still do physical workout stuff, but we don't make it extremely rigorous. Where it's just enough to get them going, and then try to build on skills every single time. So you walk away. If we can make you feel a little bit better about yourself and your game from when you walked on the tee, when you got there, we've done a good job, right? So either we built up your skill set or built you up as a person. You're going to want to come back to that place. We made you feel better. And that, to me, is the number one thing we do at our facility. And I'm quite certain, that's kind of the LPGA that's built into us. They school us on that. You give people enough flexibility to do it their own way, to teach the fundamentals or the skills in their own way, and as never do harm. So you never want to harm a player, whether it's giving them too much work to do, trying to get them to hit shots they'll never do. Challenge them, but encourage them. So that's easy stuff. But I really think the whole thing is that when the girls get out there and they see so many other girls that look like them, or they want to look like, or be like, or they feel welcomed. I mean, our diversity at our golf course has it's changed so much. There's so many different people there now, and that's beautiful. So
Yeah, I concur with that because just on a side note, and then Cindy, I'm going to pass it back to you. I was at a local course here on the weekends, this past weekend, and just hitting some balls and having some fun. And I went a little extra early. Actually, woke up early for a change and went out there. And I was really shocked because I hadn't done that in a little while. Gone out that early to this particular course, and I was amazed at how many young people in general, obviously, but young girls, and either like in their teens or even early 20s that were out there, either getting ready for a lesson or playing or whatever, very impeccably dressed. I mean, they looked the part, and they were out there to have fun. And I just happened to, when I was standing in the pro shop and I was doing my thing, I was talking to a couple of them there as they were getting ready to check out and get ready for what they were doing. And they just, they're kind of new to the game, some of them, but they just love it. And it just attests to what you were just saying, is there's something, I don't know what it is, whether it's something in the cereal in the morning, but something has created a spark that more and more young women are gravitating to this game. And I don't know what it is. I hope.
Well, and I'll tell you one of the great things is that when we look at our PGA Junior League, so we have, quite a few players that compete. We had our own league. We had so many players this year that our golf course had their own league. And half of the players were girls. Now, that's never happened before. We'd always have, a handful of girls that competed. But it's gotten to the point now where half of them are girls. Our high school development program, right? Half of them are girls. And the girls are filling the local high schools, right? They're going out there and competing, which it's not. I don't, I really don't care. If you want to compete, great. We'll coach you up that way. If you just want to go out and play with your mom and dad, or just go out and play with the other little girls or the other high school kids, that's fine too. If you just want to do it socially, but that so many are wanting to try their hand at the competition and do the drive, chip, and putt and all that stuff, and that's wonderful. Right? I mean, just the fact that they're getting out there and trying competition at golf, how difficult that is. It's a whole different thing from going out and just playing 18 holes or playing 9 holes or 5 holes and then going out and competing. And the ones who stick with it, I think, they come back with a lot more confidence. So it's neat. I don't know exactly what it is, but all I can tell you is you put a bunch of girls there, more girls are going to come. And then what happens? More boys come. So the whole thing is just, it's smart.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think that's so true. Cindy, go ahead.
How do you, where do you have them start compete? PGA Junior League is number one, I'm sure. Drive, chip, and putt. U.S. Kids. Right. You have an Under Armour tour. What do you have?
Yes, we have the Under Armour tour. We have all that in the area. Peggy Kirk Bell, great place for the girls. We actually do a junior development league, and it goes through even age 11. So our junior development league, it's just a 5-hole, kind of models the PGA Junior League thing, and it's just to get the young ones to come out and understand, the format, and to get them ready for when they step into PGA Junior League. Because we had a team, the first year I ever did it, we had a team that the PGA, they said, anyone can play, brand new golfers, whatever. So, we had brand new golfers come, and we went over to a country club near us, and it was devastating on every level. It was supposed to be fun, but we got there and we were playing with kids, and they were big. They were like 13, 14 years old, and they had played a lot, and our kids were not very good, and it hurt me as a coach. Now the other guys were so nice. They didn't intend for it to be that way. That's just what it was. And I was like, I'll never let this happen again. When the kids come out, I want them to at least have a shot, to at least be able to, if you lose, you lose. That's no big deal. But I don't want you ever feeling embarrassed. So I try to make sure the kids feel like they're prepared. Think about it. If you show up to a tournament and you're way over your head, that's never a good thing for building one, especially with the girls. You just don't want to feel like you're torn down that way. So I feel like, sending them to these places like Drive, Chip, and Putt where they can see there are a bunch of other kids that don't get points and some that do, and then you can try to get better for the next time. Or playing in the Peggy Kirk Bell has these different developmental brackets, so you get to play with those at the right level. And I think that's the key, because you're not going to want to stick with it. If you go down the Black Diamond ski slope your first time out, are you going to want to go back skiing again? Nope. So
I agree.
Yeah,
I
I've
agree.
done that. I've done that, by the way, and I didn't want to go
too.
back.
Right. Sticking to golf.
Right. It was a bad experience, but anyways. So let me just ask, or sorry, Cindy, go ahead if you had another question you had.
You're good. Go ahead.
So Julieta, let me ask you, again, just sort of playing on the theme that we've been talking about here. A lot of golfers, again, we all know, the three of us know that it can be a very, very challenging game. And depending on where you are, I mean, obviously I'm in Florida and Cindy's up in Buffalo and you're up in Maryland, so it's going to get a little cooler for you gals up there in the next little bit. And even though, you can go indoor, the unfortunate thing is for some, particularly in the Northeast, they kind of go into a hibernation and don't do a lot in the off season. What would you recommend for golfers to work on in the off season, whether it be from their home or maybe heading out to somewhere that has an indoor facility? What would you recommend that they work on so that they keep themselves sharp in that off season so they'll be ready to play when they come out next spring?
Oh, it's a simple thing. One of the most important things is to get a grip trainer, because especially for young people or new golfers, the grip is one of the things that when it starts to go wrong, it's hard to bring it back. So those formed grip trainers that go on the club, I don't know, Cindy, what do you think of those? Are you an advocate of them?
Yeah. Yep. Definitely.
Right. So I think just putting your hands on the club and even just taking swings in your yard, in your front porch, or you put that club in your hand in the living room and just go through the quarter swing, half swings, ankle high, waist high. Lots of other exercises that can help with the bands, just doggone push-ups and squats and things that you can do inside. Doesn't have to be, there are so many things online now. And these kids are teaching themselves how to play golf using YouTube channels and Instagram. And so if you want to do workouts, there's a ton of information online. We do a lot of things. We show the kids the things we want them to do. So we bring them out and have them do basic stuff. Because I think if you make it too complicated, they don't want to do it. But a lot of the kids are doing martial arts, they're doing taekwondo, they're karate, great stuff for golf. Anything, playing basketball in off season, all that is I think is fantastic. It's strengthening you. It's making it's what we say. It's all kung fu. It's all part of the process. You learn to be a better athlete, you take care of your body, and you're a better teammate, better sportsmanship, the whole thing. But again, that's another place I bring in my younger coaches. These young people, they're USGTF trained. They're not PGA, but they are. Their hearts are in it. They're fantastic. And they're helping tremendously, because when the younger ones see them doing it, like, oh yeah, I can do that. So yeah. And what do you do, Cindy? You kind of, do you have a lot of workouts that you do? And
physical workouts, not so much, but we teach in the Dome all winter. So we have a player development program that we have an awful lot of kids come to.
Great.
Yeah, and we're lucky because we've got a dome with 48 stations upstairs and downstairs, and you can see the ball fly 100 yards.
Oh, I'd love to see that.
So,
wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's awesome.
You're lucky. Yeah, we do the best we can outside, because I know I've done that. We have set up our indoor, but I've just never been one of the pros that loves teaching inside. I just, I love to be out. We'll try to go as deep into the winter as we can. There's always a day or two we can get out there and play. In the wintertime here in Baltimore, we get enough moderate days that course is empty. We play. So just bundle up, wear your hat, put on your Polartec gloves, let's go. So if you're in town, you can stop by and see me. We'll get a game in. Sounds good.
Yeah, I think it's I think it's so important.
I can see Ted leaving Florida to come to Baltimore in the winter. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah,
Probably
no,
not.
good luck. No, I left Canada for a reason. I had enough snow and shoveling and cold winter mittens and that. No, that's why I moved to Florida. But no, it's, I look at it this way, when I was, and I'm going to just quickly reference this because we're getting close on our time, but, when I lived in Canada, obviously we had a limited season, much like, you guys have, more close to what Cindy's experiencing. But, we made the best of it, and we didn't, at that time, we didn't have a lot of indoor options. Now, later on in the Toronto area, which is the area I grew up mainly in, they had a dome as well, much like what Cindy has. So we would go somewhere like that if we could. But for those of us that were more drawn to the game, we did things, worked on the grip. We worked on different things. I had a full-length mirror in my rec room or basement, as some might call it.
Yeah.
And I taped it off. Okay, so that I knew where the ball position, I knew where my lines were, and I stood in front of that mirror.
Great. That's what we did.
And I think my family thought I was conceited or something. I said, "Why are you always checking yourself out in the mirror?" I said, "I'm not checking myself out. I'm checking my golf, swing out, if you will." But
Ted, it's funny you said that because that's exactly what we do too. In the winter, we have the medicine balls and we bring them inside, and we just don't break the mirror with the medicine balls. But it's about all you can do, and you can improve. You can improve your swing and make vast changes away from when you're competing. I think that's the time to do it. If you're trying to reroute someone's backswing from a whatever handsy top of the backswing thing to getting them more connected, you have a much better chance at making those changes in the off season, in the winter, especially when you're using the weighted clubs, the medicine balls, and you're doing some speed stick training. The club speed stuff is important, but people have to remember you have to have a good physical base before you start doing speed training. Otherwise, you will get injured.
Right, and the other thing too is what I found is just going through the motions, if you will, of the golf swing in that off season. Because if you're plunking your fanny down on a couch or a lazy boy chair for 4 or 5 or even 6 months, depending on the circumstances, and then you come out there and expect to pick up your game where you left off last season, that's not going to happen. And so then, they come to the lesson tee and you got to go through the whole process again for the first, month or so just to get them tuned up. So I always try to encourage people to get out and do, some of the things that you just mentioned, just to keep themselves active and keep themselves, working on the fundamentals and things like that, so that when they come out, it was a much easier transition to get them back out in the golf course. There's nothing worse than working.
Putting rugs.
Right.
Even those putting rugs. You put that 9-foot putting rug in your living room or your dining room, and you can work on those 5-foot putts, those 10-foot putts, just your stroke. It does help. I don't care what anybody says. Reps help, especially when you have the mirrors and the lines and the whatever, and you're basically doing it. Golf going in the hole is a good thing, right?
I agree. Well, Julieta, unfortunately we're out of time, but we want to thank you for joining us. And if you want to let the listeners know the best way they can reach out or where they can contact you if they want to come and visit and maybe check out your facility and maybe work with you at some point, by all means, here's a great opportunity to share with the listeners how they can best do that.
We'll just visit BaltimoreGolfAcademy.com, or you can also go to innerdrivegolf.com, INNER drivegolf.com. That's my own little personal thing, and I put a lot on that. But our city courses are terrific. You'll love them if you come and visit with us. I appreciate this time. Thank you all so much for having me on.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, not a problem. We'll you too as well, and much continued success in growing the game, and we'll have you back on again on a future show and spend some more time with us. But we appreciate you doing so today, and have a great rest of the season and a great off season, if you will, and keep doing the great things that you're doing. Thank you very much for joining us this morning on the Women of Golf.
All right.
All right.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, that was Julieta Stack, LPGA teacher professional, and you can find her at the Baltimore Golf Academy as their director of instruction. You'll see her up at the Pine Ridge Golf Course. Excuse me. All right, Cindy, that's it. Another Tuesday behind us, off on another adventure for the rest of this week, and I will see you next Tuesday back here on the Women of Golf. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. God bless, and we will see you next time. Thanks, Cindy.
Thanks, Ted.
Thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoyed listening to this week's Women of Golf show. Ted and Cindy wish to thank this week's special guests. Remember to join them every Tuesday from 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern here on the iGolf Sports Network or on any of these social media platforms: iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, CastBox, TalkStream Live, and of course Spotify. To get updates on the show, you can follow the Women of Golf Facebook page at www.facebook.com/Women of Golf. This has been a production of the iGolf Sports Network.